I think it's really important to have women in science because it does give a fresh perspective. If we look at the historical science, it's for hundreds of years been dominated by men. So having that fresh perspective, recollection of data, reanalysis of data, it just goes to further evolve our knowledge and our understanding of different scientific concepts. I was 10 or 11 years old, and I remember my teacher bringing in some sheep hearts from the butcher. We got to cut them up, and I was so hooked. Day to day varies greatly, and which is one of the really fantastic things about the job. I think it's really important because it serves as a reminder of all the people that came before us. So whilst I might not have any particular challenges as a woman in science, I've been really fortunate, but I have to recognise that other people haven't been as fortunate.
Welcome to Onside, the official podcast of Sport Integrity Australia. Our mission is to protect the integrity of sport and the health and welfare of those who participate in Australian sport.
Hello and welcome to Onside. I'm Tim Gavel. Today is International Day of Women and Girls in Science. It's a time for us to reflect on the important work of women in this field. The gender composition of our science and medicine team at Sport Integrity Australia is 90% women. In addition to this, membership of the Australian Sports Drug Medical Advisory Committee, established under the Sport Integrity Australia Act, is 70% female. Our science and medicine team work hard to understand the science of doping and the analytical procedures used to test samples. Being at the forefront of wider developments in forensic science is an essential part of the team's role in deterring, disrupting and detecting doping in sport. On this International Day of Women and Girls in Science, we speak with Assistant Director of Science, Dr. Gemma Payne, about her role at Sport Integrity Australia. Welcome, Gemma. Thank you very much for joining us on Side.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about your role here at Sport Integrity Australia firstly.
So I'm the Assistant Director of the Science team, and we look after all aspects of science in doping for SIA. So from engaging with athletes on a daily basis to help them understand the risks of supplements, help them through TUE processes, and also to help our investigators, our intel specialists and legal team to understand any casework we've got.
How did you get into this field? Because you've got an interesting background.
Well, I've always liked science. My earliest memory of liking science was in Year 5, so I was 10 or 11 years old, and I remember my teacher bringing in some sheep hearts from the butcher. We got to cut them up, and I was so hooked. And I remember asking the teacher, can I take them home with me? And she's like, sure. So I bundled them up, took them home on the school bus and showed my probably shocked family. So it's not surprising that I ended up doing a Bachelor of Science with honours in forensic science and then continued on to do a PhD. I ended up working in forensics in a policing context and then saw this opportunity to come over to SIA to practice forensic science, but in just a different type of context.
Is it a natural progression for women to go into science? Is it something that women are interested in?
Well, I think so. When I started out in forensic science, we actually had a lot of women doing the course. I think we had just under 20 people graduate in my year, and the majority were women, so that was a really good representation. And when I did enter forensics, there was a great representation, and there's a lot of fantastic female leadership in that space.
Are you interested in sport? Is that how you came to be at Sport Integrity Australia, combining the world that you were previously in with the world of sport?
Definitely that was one aspect that was really interesting to me. I've always played sport. I'm not a sporting superstar by any stretch, but I've always played tennis and softball and OzTag and all sorts of things. And so being able to kind of marry two things was really appealing to me. Just
on a day-to-day basis, what sort of things do you do in science at Sport Integrity Australia then?
So day-to-day varies greatly, and which is one of the really fantastic things about the job. So I can one day be talking to an athlete about either a case, maybe a positive test that they've had, or they've got a question about, is this supplement safe to take? And I could be talking to them and helping them understand the risks. I could be working with our education team to develop packages. One of my favourite things to do is to go out to those outreach events and spend the day out at, I went out recently to the Uni Games and man the SIA booth there and just talk to athletes all day about different aspects.
Do you find that athletes seemingly are unaware of some of the dangers of some of the things they might be looking at taking? Yeah,
definitely. It's so common in, I guess, the wider society to just take the supplements that you can get in a supermarket or, a chemist, and not knowing the risks to them as an athlete, the potential to test positive from those.
Well, tell us about the role of women in science. Do you think you bring a different perspective, especially at Sport Integrity Australia and in the sporting field? Do you give a different view that may not have been there in the past?
I think so. I think it's really important to have women in science because it does give a fresh perspective. If we look at the historical science, it's for hundreds of years been dominated by men. So having that fresh perspective, recollection of data, reanalysis of data, it just goes to further evolve our knowledge and our understanding of different scientific concepts.
And if you have a look at the number of participants in sport, a fair majority of women too. So you have to sort of relate to them and fully understand what women are going through.
Exactly right. I think having women would be a large proportion of athlete population. So having us represented in the organisations that help keep that sport safe is really important.
I would imagine too, if a female athlete rings up, they'd be more than happy to speak to a female science officer, wouldn't they? So there is that perspective.
Yes, and sometimes we're answering questions on medications or things that might relate to women's health as well.
Just on, I guess, your own perspective on things, did you understand what was going on at Sport Integrity Australia before you joined? Did you understand the science behind a lot of what goes on at Sport Integrity Australia?
Not to the extent that I probably do now. I think I do consider it a type of forensic science. So the concepts are still the same, but I'm always learning every day.
So you've got an inquiring mind, have you?
Yeah, very curious, yes.
Yes. What do you find the most fascinating part about it? What's something that sort of you think, gee, I just find that so incredible. Is it a new discovery, or is it trying to stay ahead, I guess, of people who might be trying to cheat the system? Is it something that I guess that we probably haven't even thought about?
I think it is trying to harness new technologies to get ahead of the curve. I think that's the most exciting aspect in relation to research and development.
Because that is a key part of it, isn't it? To understand what might be happening in the future and using the basis of history and what you've done in terms of research to find out where it might go in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And we just try and look at, other industries as well. We don't kind of just look at anti-doping science. We can harness technology or understanding from pharmaceuticals and all sorts of areas.
If somebody was listening to this and think, gee, I wouldn't mind getting into science at Sport Integrity Australia, what would your advice be? What sort of pathway should they take?
Well, this is a great question because there's actually no defined pathway. There's no course in anti-doping science that, we would recommend. We've got such a diverse background. We have people that went through, they're physiotherapists. We have people that did a haematology background. We've got myself in forensics. So it's really just finding the aspect of science that they like and applying it.
Gemma, why do you think there is such a large percentage of women involved in science and medicine at Sport Integrity Australia? What draws women to this field?
I've never really sat down and asked them, why did you, why are you interested in this field? But I think a big aspect is that a big part of the role is needing to communicate scientific concepts to a layperson. So having a real interest and passion for communication. So perhaps that is one reason. I know that's an aspect that I enjoy and that's why I like it.
When people ring you up, especially, I guess, women, looking for advice on products they might be looking at taking, are you able to break it down into simple layperson's terms? Is that one of the things that you can do?
That's definitely the goal that I try for.
So not too complicated?
Yeah, you want people to, hang up the phone or walk away from that conversation feeling like they really have an understanding and not being bombarded by technical terms.
I'd imagine that gives you great satisfaction.
It does, and that's why I like those outreach events, because you really get that face-to-face as well, and you can see them walk away with a smile on their face.
Do you have sleepless nights thinking, gee, wonder what's in the future in this field? Do you think, I wonder what other people, certain bad actors might be thinking about how I can cheat the system? Do you think about that at all?
No, I think the things that keep me up at night are ideas I've got. I wish we could do this, and that'd be so cool if we could do that. So they're the kind of thoughts that tick over in my brain.
Amongst sports scientists, is there a lot of collaboration? Do you get ideas from other countries about what they're looking at and try and put it into practice at Sport Integrity Australia?
Yeah, I thought forensics was a small community, and then I came over to anti-doping, and it is such a small, tight-knit community, and I've got no problem, picking up the phone or sending an email to one of my colleagues overseas to ask them for their take on an issue or a problem, and we'd like to really share information. I really like that part of it.
Yes, I guess that is, given it's a small field, it's like a family, so you're sort of all working for the same purpose
the same
direction.
Yeah,
yes.
And when we catch up at a conference or a meeting, that's really nice as well. It is like seeing kind of old friends or family.
And just finally, on the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, just how important is it to recognise this day, do you think, and to promote the fact that there are a lot of women involved in this field?
I think it's really important because it serves as a reminder of all the people that came before us. So whilst I might not have any particular challenges as a woman in science, I've been really fortunate, but I have to recognise that other people haven't been as fortunate. So it's a really good reminder to recognise and be grateful for the opportunities that I've had.
Gemma, thanks very much for joining us on Onside today.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good to chat. Thank you. Thanks for listening to Onside. I'm Tim Gavel. We'll be back with a new episode shortly.
You've been listening to Onside, the official podcast of Sport Integrity Australia. Send in your podcast questions or suggestions to media@sportintegrity.gov.au. For more information on Sport Integrity Australia, please visit our website www.sportintegrity.gov.au or check out our Clean Sport app.